All right, let's talk about a word we throw around all the time, but maybe don't totally get: denial. It sounds so simple, right? But it's actually got this really fascinating logical puzzle at its heart. And today, we're going to crack it. And that gets us to the big question here. To deny something, do you first have to believe, even for a millisecond, that it might be real? I mean, it feels like a total paradox, doesn't it? But stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll have the answer crystal clear.
Okay, so first let's just start with the basics. The kind of denial we see and use every single day, just in normal conversation.
Just picture the scene. We've all been there. Someone points at you and says, "You broke the vase." And you fire back, "No, I didn't." So what's really happening in that moment? Does that mean you're secretly admitting that, yeah, the vase is broken and you're in the room? Nope, not even close. What you're actually doing is way, way simpler. See, here's the crucial split. When you deny breaking the vase, you're not actually acknowledging the fact of the broken vase. You're only acknowledging the statement, the accusation someone just threw at you. You're basically saying, "Yep, I heard the thing you just said," and in the same breath, you're rejecting it. And you can see this even more clearly when things get more formal, like in a public statement. When a politician or a CEO says, "I deny the accusation," it's basically a performance, right? It's for an audience. To publicly deny something, you first have to acknowledge the claim exists, so everyone watching knows exactly what it is you're shooting down. All right, so that's everyday life. But what happens when we take this idea and put it into a much more structured world? Let's switch gears and talk about the clean, precise rules of logic and philosophy.
In formal logic, they've actually got a name and even a symbol for this whole thing. It's called negation. So if we call the proposition, "you broke the vase," P, then denying it is just asserting not P. It's as simple as saying, "It is not true that I broke the vase."
And this is where it all clicks into place. It's brilliant. To negate P, there's only one thing you have to do. Recognize that P is a statement that has been made. And here's the key. You absolutely do not have to agree that P is true. Of course not. The whole goal is to reject it. It's just like our vase example. You just have to hear the claim to be able to deny it.
Okay, but like with any good rule, there is one really profound exception. And this one doesn't come from logic. It comes from psychology. This is where denial gets a whole lot deeper and becomes a real blind spot in our own minds.
So, in psychology, and you've probably heard this in relation to Freud, denial is what's called a defense mechanism. It's this unconscious thing our mind does to protect us from a reality that's just too painful or traumatic to handle. It just blocks it out. It literally refuses to let that reality into your conscious mind. And this is what makes this kind of denial a completely different beast. In all the other examples, you're fully aware of the claim you're rejecting. But with deep psychological denial, the person might not be consciously aware of the fact itself at all. Think of someone in denial about a huge loss. They might just go on acting as if it never even happened.
All right, so we've covered denial in a conversation, denial in logic, and that deep down psychological denial. Let's pull all these threads together and finally answer that big question we started with.
So it really all boils down to this simple distinction. In pretty much every case, from a simple chat to a complex logical proof, denial is about rejecting a statement or a claim. But in that deep psychological form, the person might be consciously acknowledging, well, nothing at all. So let's go all the way back to that first question. Do you have to believe something is true to deny it? The answer is no, absolutely not. For the most part, you just have to be aware that a claim has been made so you can reject it. Being truly blind to the fact itself? Well, that's that rare, profound exception we call psychological denial. So now that you've got this new lens, now that you can spot the difference between someone rejecting a claim and someone who might be blind to a fact, you're going to start seeing denial everywhere. The only question is, what kind will you notice?